Hello guys, it's Alex here again, and welcome to this course where we'll be making a design. The essence of this design we're making is for you to see how we apply some of the tools that you have been taught so far throughout this program, and also we'll be introducing you to new tools through the design you'll be making. So in summary, we'll be recreating a design, and here is the design we'll be recreating. See it right here. This is the flyer design of a webinar that I just attended, I think a few days ago. So this is a simple flyer, but yet it's professionally designed, and we'll be recreating this flyer. And at the cost of recreating this flyer, we'll be applying so many tools that we have been taught in the theory classes, and also we'll be making use of new features and new tools. So let's get started. First of all, let me minimize this. I have to import this to Photoshop. And to import this into Photoshop, all I need to do is to double click on this and drag it into Photoshop. My Photoshop is already open. Then let's create a new document. Go back to our folder where we have our image. This is for us to know the size of the image. If you just hover on top of the image, you can see that the size of the image is 1080 by 1080. 1080 by 1080 pixels. Right, that is the dimension of the image. So I'm going back to Photoshop and I'm going to open new, and I'm clicking on file, click on new, and instantly we have a panel that comes up for us to create a new document. So I go to the width, hit 1080, I go over to the height and hit 1080 as well. So we now have 1080 by 1080. The resolution is 300. The color mode is RGB and the background is white. So that's okay. So here we have our artboard with the dimension 1080 by 1080. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to create a new artboard. You remember I told you that you can actually duplicate artboards in Photoshop. So that's what we are going to do right now. The essence of this is to have two artboards, one we are designing on and one where we have the image we are referencing from. So that artboard, the first artboard serves as our mood board, and the second one serves as the actual design we are making. Once I go over to the move tool at the top here, I double click and now I have the artboard tool. So I click on the artboard tool. Sorry, I think I lost that. So I click on the artboard tool. So once my artboard tool is selected, I come over to the edge of my existing artboard. Then once I'm at the edge, I'll just double click and drag to the other edge, to the opposite edge of where I started my selection from. So while I get to that point, I release my hand. Once my hand is released, you can see right away that I have plus signs around my existing artboard. So all I have to do at this point is to click the plus sign on any side I want the extra artboard to appear. So I want it to appear by the right, so I get to click the plus sign by the side. So once I've done that, you see that a new artboard has appeared. All right. Now there's another way we can actually get our artboard duplicated. You know, one of the amazing things about Photoshop is that there are so many ways you can get one thing done. So let's go back, Ctrl Z. So this is the second way we can actually duplicate our artboard. We can come over to the move tool at the top here, double click so we can see the artboard tool. Once the artboard tool is selected, if you look at the top here, we have so many options. You have some options and artboard settings that have come up. Among all the options that are already shown here, you can see there is this option here that looks like the artboard icon. You see, they look the same, but the difference is that this one has a plus sign inside it. And once you hover on it, instantly Photoshop tells you it is an icon to add new artboard. So once you click on it, You see instantly, even your cursor that was just the artboard icon before now has a plus sign beside it. So all you have to do is to click on the artboard. So you immediately click on the artboard, you see there are plus signs appearing at all sides of the artboard. So once you have that, you just click plus on any side of the artboard that you want the extra or the new artboard to appear on. So once you click plus, we have our new artboard. All right. So those are the two ways we can add artboards. So we now have artboard 1 and artboard 2. So let's go straight into the other window where we have the image we want to duplicate. So all we have to do now is to move this file right into this artboard. So this artboard now serves as our mood board. We can actually change the name. So instead of it being artboard 1, I can come over here at the layers panel and change it to mood board. I'm sure every one of us know what a mood board is. We have a course on that, so I don't think it is a problem. We all understand what a mood board is. So I can come here and name this design or flyer design. So let me zoom in so you can see that this artboard now has the name mood board. Then this other artboard has the name flyer design. So we are good to go. Now let's go over to the previous window or the previous document we imported. This is the document we are trying to recreate. This file will be on our mood board because that is the design we are referencing from. So to move it into the other design, all we have to do is to double click and drag. I've just double clicked on it and I'm dragging it to the other window or other file. You see, I'm here now, and once I'm here on the mood board artboard, I just drop it. Right, so our file has been dragged and dropped into the mood board. So we are now ready to start copying this design. First of all, we'll need to get a background. Let's zoom in so you see the kind of background this guy is used. The background is not plain, right? It has some patterns, but then I think some abstract patterns. So first of all, let's get a background. We'll go over to freepik.com. Let's try freepik. So right now at freepik, let's try abstract background. So I also need to point out that we might not get the exact background that those guys used, but then we're going to get something close. So here freepik has given us some examples of abstract backgrounds. I think this wants to look like the background. Let's go back and take a look again. Let's zoom in. Okay, I think this, look at the background again. So this wants to look like the background. Let's go back to freepik. So this abstract background here wants to look like what we are looking for. So let me quickly download it. I'm not going premium, I'm going for free download. So I hit free download. So let's wait for it to download. Oh, it's asking me to log in. So I'm logging in as Uche Alex so that it downloads the file for me. I'm hitting the download again now that I've logged in. So let's wait for the download to happen. Yep, so our file is currently downloading and you can see that at the bottom left here. So our file has downloaded completely. All we have to do is to click on it. Then it is now open. So this is the image, right? Let me click on it. Okay, instead of just the image, there's also a raw file. This is an Illustrator file. All right, In case you don't like the pattern, you want to make an adjustment to the pattern, you can now use Adobe Illustrator to make adjustment to the pattern there. But then we don't want to make any of that, so we just want to use the background as it is. So you see one of the uses, you see why Adobe Illustrator is also important to your journey as a graphic designer. But then we'll be looking at Adobe Illustrator pretty soon in this program. So I'm clicking on, I'm dragging this to, yeah, let me drag it to Photoshop. So we are here. Okay, I think I've known the problem. The file is refusing to drag to Photoshop because it is inside a locked folder. It's inside a zipped or compressed folder, so it cannot be dragged to Photoshop. So all we have to do at this point is to copy it out of the folder. So I left click on my mouse and I left click on my mouse and I see copy. So I go over to the same folder or any folder that I like, and I now have to paste it there. So now I have this pasted. So now it is outside the compressed or zip folder. Now I can now copy it into Photoshop. Here we go. So this is pretty large. It's covering everywhere, right? Yep. So I have to reduce its size by going to the edges. You see all those rectangular dots at the edge of the images. So I'm hovering at the edges, and my cursor is changing to 2 arrowheads. And once I get those edges, I use it to transform or change the size of the document or the image that we are resizing. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I think this is okay. Okay, let me just hit enter for it to snap into our artboard. So I'm going to keep moving this until I'm comfortable with the background. Okay, so I think we are good to go. Our background is ready, but not 100% ready. Okay, if you look at this background, it is pinkish in a way, while our own is grayish in a way. So we have to make sure our background is gray as well. So to make that happen, we need to add a color over this background. How do we do that? There are two ways we can do that. We can actually go over to our rectangle tool, choose rectangle, and drop a rectangle over the entire artboard. So presently it is black, so we can just change the color here from our properties panel here. If you click on these properties here, if you click on it here, you see a lot of information about this rectangle that I just drew. You see a lot of information about this rectangle. In case you don't have this properties panel here, you can go over to window and choose properties. So see the properties here. So once I click on it, you see the properties of the rectangle appears. Here you can see the width, height, the axis, and also you can see the color. You can also adjust the edges. Can now come over here, click on this black, and see many colors that Adobe Photoshop. You can see so many colors that Photoshop is suggesting for you. Here are some of the colors I use for my recent projects. I can actually make use of these colors if I like, or I can now go over to here and choose to pick color from my color picker tool. So since I don't know the shade of the pink, all I have to do is to move my cursor over the background and sample the shade of pink I want. So I just have to move my cursor on this background and click on any part of the flyer design where I want to sample its color. So I click on any part of the background, then instantly Photoshop samples the color for me, and I click OK. And there we go, we have the color of the background here. But then you also notice that this background or this rectangle is now hiding our original background. So how do we get this done? We do that by, how do we get our background appear and still while retaining the color on our rectangle on top? So like we want our background and the rectangle to appear at the same time. So how are we going to do this? We are going to achieve this by going over to, we are going to achieve this by using blend modes. So you go over to this place, look here, you see here, make sure you're clicking on the rectangle panel. All right, make sure you're clicking on the rectangle layer. So you go over to the blend mode here. It's currently on normal. You click on it, then you begin to hover on all the blend modes until you get to the one that gives you a blending that looks like the artboard, or it looks like the design we want to copy or reference. So this is perfect. You see, this color works. If you look at other ones, normal, dissolve, darken, multiply. Wow, this is dark. So we're still going back to color. You see, color is perfect for what we want to achieve, the color mode. So we click on that, and you see our backgrounds are now similar. So the next thing we'll do is to add our texts, right? If you noticed, look at the text closely, you notice that these texts are somehow long, kind of long or stretched. You look at the 100K, look at the font, take a close look at them. They are kind of long compared, the heights are higher compared to the kind of font that I use for the webinar. So let's zoom in so you notice what I'm trying to say. Let me zoom in very well. So look at this font. The height is almost looking at like it is stretched. The 100K, the 27K, 27, sorry, and the 9 p.m. The time, not the PM now, but the 9 itself, and the blueprint. These fonts are looking similar, but this font used to write PM, this THE here, and the February here, and the webinar, they are looking similar. Understand? They don't look like this one used to write the 100K blueprint, 27th and 9. So you need to pay attention to that. So basically, we are going to use two fonts. That is what it means. So let's go first for the kind of font to use to write the 100K. So let's assume I don't have this font. The first thing I'm going to do is to go to Google and type in long fonts. Okay. So instantly, Google gives me so many samples of fonts that are long. So while I look at them, I can choose to go to any of them and download the one that I feel that is closest to the font that was used in that design. All right. So I can go to, like, this one looks like the one that is used to write that 100K. So I can just click on it, and when I come here, I see the download, and I click on download button. Let me scroll down as well to see if I'll see other long fonts. You see there are so many long fonts here that you can actually, choose if you feel that one is not it. think I'm still going with this first one. So I click on download, and instantly it downloads. So you see, my download manager has popped up because the font is trying to download. All right, so I won't be downloading this font because I already have a long font. I'm just showing you how you can get a long font if you don't have one, or how you can also get fonts in the future in case you need, in case you see a font in a design that you want to use. Then this is one of the ways you can actually search for them on Google. So let's go back to our artboard. Let me zoom out again. So I'll go to my text or type tool and click on it. Now we have chosen our type tool, horizontal type tool. For us to type, I have to come over here and click on create a new layer. So you see this icon here? That's what I just clicked. I just created a new layer so that my text will be on a new layer. I've told you the importance of putting new effects or putting your components or design elements on new layers. It allows you on separate layers. It allows you on separate layers, not new layers, sorry. It allows you to be able to control. It gives you full control on your design. You can you can apply an element and later you don't need them anymore. So you can just simply go to each layer and delete that layer, or just close the visibility of that layer and that layer won't be visible anymore. All right. But then if you actually put everything on one layer, you end up deleting the whole design and starting afresh just because you wanted to adjust one little thing. So I just created a new layer for the type tool for the text. So I come here and click on any part of the image or any part of my artboard I want to type. So first of all, I type 100K. 100K. So I need to increase the size of my 100K. And to increase, so after typing 100K, oh shit. So now that I've created a new layer, I just go up. So now I go click on my horizontal type tool, click on any part of the artboard and type 100K. So now that I've typed 100K, all I need to do is to go to my move tool, click on my move tool so that it will be selected. Now all around the 100K, I now have the transform controls that will allow me to stretch or adjust the size of the 100K or the size of the text by moving my tool, by moving my cursor. So now I just click on the sides or the edge I want. Then I double click and drag out. So I just increase the size of my 100K. But assuming I actually have a size in mind, like I know the actual size of this text. Let us just say this text is, the size is 100. I can just come over to my properties panel here. While the type 2, the layer is highlighted and it is highlighted here as well, I just come over to this place and type in 100. So once I just type in 100, I click enter, and instantly the text is increased to 100. All right. But since I don't know the size that was used here, all I have to do is to use my cursor on my mouse to adjust the size. So once I click on the image, I go over to the transform controls. You know, these tiny triangles, white triangles that are at the edge of the 100K or the selection. So I just decrease it. So, and I click enter. So what I need to do at this point is to head over to my properties panel and choose a long font. So I scroll down. So right now the name of this font is called Gilroy. You can see it here, Gilroy. So I click down so that I get access to other fonts. No, now look at this font. This font looks perfect. The name of this font is Antonio. I think I'll go with Antonio. So I click on it. Antonio. So this font is perfect. Then I need to decrease the size. Is bigger than this. I need to decrease the size. So once I've clicked on it, you see these edges here. I click on any of those white triangles, which are the transform controls, and I use it to adjust the size. Then when I'm done, I click enter on my keyboard. So one of the ways, since we are trying to replicate this design, so we are trying to make this design to be an exact replica of this design. So I need to bring in my ruler lines to make sure that the height of this 100K and the height of this 100K are the same. Then the height of this guy and the height of this lady are the same. So that is what I'm going to do right now. I go over to the top here. And in case you don't have this, okay, let me show you how I'm able to have this my ruler. So the ruler tool helps in the proper alignment of your design elements. So I need to go to my view, go to rulers. You see these rulers here? That's what you need to click. So you see now that I've unchecked it. Now that I have unchecked it, my ruler is gone. I go back to view again at the top here and scroll down to ruler again. You can actually be going to this process, or you use Control R to get your ruler. So see my ruler at the edge here. You see it, you can see it here, you can see it at the top here, you can see it at the left here, you can see these numbers. So all I need to do now is to go over to the one at the top here and double click. Once I just double click inside the ruler, I double click and drag out. You see there's a line that has just followed me. So what I need to do is to drop the line at the top edge of the 100K on the original one I'm copying from. So you see that works. Then I'm going to drag another ruler, another line as well to the bottom of the 100K. I think, let me take this out. I think it's not yet at the bottom. Let me get it at the bottom. Yes, this is the bottom of the other 100K. The bottom of the 100K. So we are good with this one. Then since we are dealing with the 100K, so these lines now guide us with the placement of the 100K. So the another thing we're going to do now is to drag another line from this other side to put in the middle of our artboard. It also helps us with placing our elements, because if you look at this design is center aligned. Everything is kind of, all the elements are grouped, yes, and these groups are kind of aligned to the center. If you look at this group of texts, they are aligned to the center. They are neither to the left or to the right. If you look at this group of these speakers, the guy is this side and the lady is this other side. So both of them are center aligned. They are brought together. So now we have our ruler lines to guide us with the placement of our text and other elements. So the first thing I'll do here is the 100K. If you noticed, this 100, I have to increase this 100K so that to touch the bottom. I need to zoom in so I can get better control. So I need to make sure, okay, the bottom is already touching the bottom of the ruler line. I need to make sure the top touches the top of the ruler line as well. So I click enter and we are good. All right. So but we have one, let me use control minus to zoom out. Anytime I zoom out, I don't need to keep telling you I'm using control minus, all right? Just know it is control minus. So right now we have a little problem. The problem is that this 100K, for those lines to disappear, I just clicked outside on this black spot. So the lines disappeared for the time being so that we can just see the elements. If you notice, this 100K has a lot of space compared to this 100K. This 100K is looking like it is packed together, but this one has a lot of space in between them. So we have to reduce this space. So what we need to do now is to click on the 100K, then go over to the properties here. Then this is what we use to control that. Let me slide this a little bit to the left so that you can be seeing what you are doing, because anytime this spacing is at 120. This is what we use to control the spacing between fonts, all right, or between texts in our design. Currently it's at 120, right? So we just type in 60 to reduce the spacing by half. You see the spacing has reduced by 60. Instead of just clicking, on here and be editing the numbers, you can just click on this VA here. Once you click on it, you can see, once you hover, not click, once you hover on this VA written here, you see that your cursor has changed to a hand that has arrowheads at both ends of it. So this means that if you double click on that VA, you can move. If you double click on the VA, you can move left or right while your hand is still on your mouse, or while your hand is still on your touchpad on your laptop. You can adjust the spacing in between the texts. All right. So right now at 0, I think we have been able to achieve the spacing we are looking for at 0. All right. So why this is important is that while you move your hands, or why you move your you move your hands, it gives you a live preview of the spacing reduction or increment. So once we are done with this, I have to click on this top arrow here to send in the properties panel. So we have one more problem. If you look at this font, not the font, the text, the 100K here doesn't really have any color. Instead, it has a texture. If you look at it, the 100K has a texture in it. So let's go back to free pick and look for a textured background. This time around, we are looking for a red, or a red texture. Let's go for a red texture. So we're going back to free pick once again, freepick.com. So let's search for red textured background. So among several of the options that we've been given by free pick, we just have to slide through and check for the one that we think best fits the texture in that 100K. I think I like this. This or this. This or this, this or this. Okay, let's go with this. So here are more textures being shown to us by free pick, but then let's go. I think I'm okay with this. Let's click download. free download. So it's asking me to log in again. So let me log in, and yeah, I'm logged in. So I'm downloading again. What? Wait. This is 63 megabyte. I need to pause this. This is 63 megabyte. This is way too big. It will take a lot. It might take us a lot of time to download. So let me just go back. Let me type in again. Red textured background. I think I have to choose this smaller one. Let me go with this. Let me cancel this ad that is popping up here, and this is downloading now. This is 19 megabytes. It's fair. I need to stop this, cancel. So let's wait for our file to download. Or while we wait for it to download, let me just glide through and see some other options. So the network is a bit slow, and the file size is not also that small for the network. So I think I need to find an alternative. So instead of just downloading from here, this platform gives you high resolution images. All right, that's why the sizes are that big. So let's go over to Google and just type red textured background. So I'll most likely get a red textured background with low quality on Google. So I think I like this background. So I'm going for this. I just need to right click, go to save images, and download it to my download folder. So this is pretty fast because it's just 608 kilobytes. So now we have our red background ready. I just have to drag this into Photoshop. Yes. So let me zoom out using Control minus. Let me zoom out. So our textured background is so big that it is covering everywhere. I need to reduce it. Right. So to the size of the artboard, I have reduced it, and I click enter. So let me slide and increase the size a bit. So what I've just done now is trying to get this texture into that 100K text. And in one of our previous videos, I've taught you that one of the ways we can do this is by using layer mask. By using layer mask, you can actually contain an image into an object or into a design element. So in this case, we are trying to fill this textured background or image or texture background image into the text 100K. And all we need to do is to hold the Alt key on our keyboard. Then you hover in between the two layers. All right. Once you hold the Alt key on your keyboard, you use the other, with your left hand, you hold the Alt key. Then with your right hand, you hover your mouse in between these two layers. So let's make that happen. So you see that once my left hand is on the Alt key and my right hand is hovered in between the two layers, you see that my cursor has changed to the clipping mask So I now click, and instantly we have our texture into the 100k text. So at this moment we can resize it. Despite the fact it's into the 100k text, you can still make adjustments to it. Like in this case, once it is highlighted here, you see that I am still moving, stretching it so that I make sure that it somehow fits with the 100k here. So at this point, I think I'm comfortable. Then we also have a problem. This red, this texture that we filled in is absolutely red, and this 100k here, the texture filled in this 100k is not as red as the one we are using. So one of the things we have to do to sort that out is to change the color. So the big question now is, how do you get to change this color in Photoshop? It is simple. There is a tool in Photoshop that we use to adjust colors of anything to fit what we want. So we go down here, look at this icon here. Let me hover on it again. Look at this icon here. It is circular. It is circular in shape. Once you just click on it, you see so many options pop up. You just go over to the hue and saturation. Look at it here. This is one of the powerful tools we use, or effect tools we use to adjust colors in Photoshop. So once you click on it, you look at here, we now have the hue and saturation layer here. And over here, you can see the properties of the hue and saturation layer. This is where we adjust the colors. The hue and saturation layer is a powerful tool or feature in Photoshop that allows us to adjust the color and the saturation of colors and the intensity or brightness of these colors in Photoshop. So it is an amazing tool in Photoshop. So let's quickly, the top slider, we want to adjust the color right now. So let's quickly move the top slider, which is for the hue, which hue is also another word for colors. So we move the slider until we get, while we're moving the sliders, you need to be looking at the other image we are referencing from, right? So we keep moving the sliders until we get a color that is similar to the one we are trying to reference. If you move it to the extreme, you see, you keep getting different colors. So you see how amazing this tool is. You see how it keeps changing the colors of everything. So let's move it again until we get the particular color that looks close to the one we are referencing. All right. So I think this is perfect at this moment. This is perfect. Let me move it a little bit as well. Let me see if it is better. I think this looks perfect in my eyes. But then if you also notice, this color adjustment is also affecting our background. Our background is no longer pinkish or no longer the color it used to be. The color has changed. Why? Because while adjusting this hue and saturation is adjusting the colors of everything that is under it, like all the layers that are under it, including this one, including this rectangle. It's adjusting the colors of everything. But that is not what we want. We just want it to affect the color in the 100. That is the color of this textured background. That is just what we want. Now, to make that happen, we also need to make a clipping mask of this hue saturation layer. So making a clipping mask of this layer is like telling this layer to only affect the red place and leave our background alone. Only affect this layer. All right. So this is how we do it. Look at the bottom of this. Look at this bottom here. You see so many icons here. This icon is for visibility. This icon is to delete the adjustment layer. Then this icon is to reset the settings you have done to the layer. Then this icon helps you, to review state. What it means is you want to compare between the state where you have applied the effect and the state where you have not applied the effect. So you can actually compare and see if the effect you have done is actually better or it's not. So once you hold on it, you see the previous state. I release my hand, you see the present state. You can use it to compare between the previous state of your design to see if the effect makes sense or not. So if it doesn't make sense, you quickly make further adjustments or you delete it and look for something else to apply. So back to what I'm trying to show you, this other icon here allows you to apply this effect on the layer, the immediate layer below it, and not all the layers here. So you just want to apply it to this layer, right? That is immediately below the layer of the hue and saturation. So all you need to do is to click on this icon, that is the clipping mask icon. So once you click on it, you see that our background has come back to what it used to be. So the change only affects the 100K. If you doubt it, let me go back. Let me double click on our hue and saturation layer. All right. So if you see now, as I apply the hue and saturation, it doesn't affect our backgrounds anymore. It's only affecting now the red textured background. So you see how we have been able to solve that problem. So let's also adjust our slider back to where it was. So I think this is perfect. We can also adjust the intensity if we want to make it more brighter, or make it brighter or maintain where it was back to 0. I click 0 back to where it was. We can make it darker. Look at this place. This third slider is for lightness. We can make it darker or can make it brighter. So at this point where it's darker, I can actually, okay, see how we have adjusted it and gotten something very close to the one we are referencing from. So we are good to go. So take a comparison between the 200K. See our 100K and see the other 100K. The color has been corrected. Okay, let me just close the visibility of this layer for you to see the changes we've been able to make. Let me zoom in so you see it clearly. So you see this 100K, and I shut off the adjustment, the hue and saturation layer. You see now the red is brighter. I click on it again, the red is now darker and looking like what we have here. So that is really, really, really amazing. So the next thing we're going to do now is to add, if you look at the 100K, we have this little THE on top of it, and the THE has a background as well, a tiny background that looks like a capsule. Okay, so let's go back to our own 100K and make that happen. So first of all, to create that background, you make sure you are creating that background above the hue and saturation layer. All right, so you see now we are above the hue and saturation layer. So to make that background, this is the background I'm talking about, the background of this text THE. All we need to do is to use the rectangle tool, right? Right on top of the 100K. Once we have been able to draw the rectangle tool, we'll come over to our move tool and click on it. So if you noticed, this background here is white, right? And also the edges are not sharp. The edges are rounded, making it look like a capsule or something. So let's go back. Two things we need to do is to make this one white. So I click on the properties panel, is already open, right? This properties panel here is already open. So I go over to the black color and choose white. So this is white here. This is white here. So I click OK. So our background is now white. The next thing we need to do is to adjust the edges and make it round. So one of the ways we adjust the edges, if you come over here, you see the panel where we adjust the edges of the rectangle. So I'll come over here and begin to, If you see, as I hovered on this angle here, my cursor has changed to a hand with left and right arrows pointing at the edge by the size of the finger. So I'm really move it forward or backward. I keep moving it to get the angle I want. So once I keep adjusting it, I'm looking at my rectangle. Look at the rectangle. You can see the edges, or the edges are adjusting as well as I move my hand on the slider. So once I move my hand to the extreme, you see that I have gotten the exact shape I want. Then we are good to go. So if you notice something as well, this background has a shadow. See the shadow it has. You see it has a shadow. So we need to add that shadow. But first, before we do that, let's add our text THE on top of this. So that THE has to be on a new layer. So I go over to the last layer, the rectangular layer. You see it here, and I click on new layer. So we have layer 2 here. Then I go over here and click on the text tool and type over that background. So the text is THE. Oh no, I made a mistake. Once I clicked on the background to type the THE, I ended up editing the 100K. So going back now, I'm clicking my move tool. All right, so I need to make sure my new layer is highlighted, right? I need to click on it, then go back again to my type tool, then come to any part of the image apart from this place, because if I click here now, I'll end up editing it again. So I just click and type THE. So remember we said that the text here is shorter, it's not as long as this. So we are going to change the font to, I think we need to use a simple font. Should I use Gilroy? No, this is not a simple font. So I'm using Gilroy. That text is not thick. I'm using Gilroy light. So I just clicked on the text so that for it to get selected, so I can adjust the size. So I click on enter when I feel I've gotten the size I want. Then I hover on the text and move it right into the background we made for it. So let's go back. So you see, we just noticed something as well. We noticed that our THE has some good space in between them, while ours here is packed together. So we just have to click on this, go to our properties panel and adjust this as well. So instead of us typing in some numbers here for the adjustment, since we don't know the numbers or the exact size in between the one we are referencing from, all we need to do is to hover on this VA here. Once we have hovered on the VA, double click on your mouse or double click on your touchpad on your laptop, then move your finger left or right. No, left reduces the space and right increases the space. So we are going right. So once you keep going right, the spaces in between the text keep increasing, and now we're at 160 and I feel it's okay. So let's make the adjustment. So I think I like this. Back to the background. I said the background has some shadows, right? There are two ways we can add shadows to the background. One of the ways we can do that is to paint black. Like shadow is black, right? So we can just use the brush tool and paint in black below this rectangle. So we can do that simply by just creating a new layer, you can click on the new layer. Then we have to move the layer behind or below the rectangular layer. This is because we are trying to make a shadow. So if the layer is above, if we paint the black will cover the rectangle, the white rectangle. But if it is below, if you paint, it will only appear below. So once this layer is now below, we now go to our brush tool here, hit it, and choose our color here. So presently our color is on, it's not black, it's kind of gray. So I'll adjust it here, make it a little bit dark, and hit OK. The brush size is big, you can see how big it is. We adjust that size by using our left and right, or right bracket, but this time I'm using my left bracket. So we have adjusted the size, and now we have adjusted the size. We now start dabbing at the edges of our, let me zoom in so you can see what is happening here. Okay, let me just Ctrl Z to undo what I have done. Let me zoom in again so you really see what is going on here. So now our white background is without shadow, but now we are about to give it some shadow. You can see right now that we are adding some good shadows to it. By just painting behind it. So, but then I think the way the shadow has appeared here, I don't really like it. I think it's too much here. I just want it to be as good as the way it is here. So it's either I go to the eraser tool here and erase the brush, the application of the brush there, or I can just add a layer mask to this brush panel. So, but yes, I think that's what I'll do. I'll add a layer mask. To add a layer mask, I need to click on this icon here. So once I click on this icon, I make sure that our here is black, right? So remember, when we're applying the layer mask, we say that black hides and white reveals. So make sure that your foreground is called foreground, and your foreground color here is black, so that we can hide the details. So we can also adjust your brush settings for the application of the layer mask. But then my settings is okay. My opacity is at 100, flow is at 20%, smoothing is at 0%, and my mode is at normal. So I'm okay, I'm good to go. So at this mode now, I keep dabbing around the shadows, those places I want to hide, or I feel that are too obvious, so I want to adjust them. I dab here, I dab at the bottom. You see, it's way much better now. This is subtle change, but then it means a lot. So if you look closely now, we have our 100K looking alike. We have the text at the top looking alike as well. But then I also noticed that, I think you must have noticed it as well, our background here is set to white, but then this is not really white. If you look, our own background is brighter than this, because this is absolutely white. To make that adjustment, all we have to do is to double click. Once this background is selected, right, if you look at the layer panel here, it is also selected here. We can double click on the thumbnail here, double click on this box here. Once you double click, you see that the color picker tool pops up. So we can now come here and sample the color that is here. Immediately we sample the color that is here, that instantly appears. I think we have multiple colors. We have a brighter color at the top here, and when we click at the bottom, we have a darker color. So that means we need to actually apply gradient into that background. So because it is more than one color, the bottom has a different color and the top has a different color. So what this means is we have to find the background. So by clicking on this here, it becomes highlighted here. So let's rename it so that we don't keep looking for it. Let's name it, instead of it to be bearing rectangle 2, we'll call it THE background. So I think that is better. Then we'll come here and rename this. Instead of it having layer 2, call it background shadow. When you don't name your layers, it becomes difficult for you to know which of the layers serves a particular purpose. So what you need to do now is, over the background, we'll have to click on the background, the THE background. Once we click on it, we'll go down to create a new layer. This icon at the bottom here, click on it. We now have a new layer immediately above the THE background. Then once we have that, we'll now come over here to, I'm trying to look for the gradient tool, okay? We'll now have to look for the gradient tool. I think the gradient tool is here. Yep, the gradient tool is here. Gradient tool. So click on the gradient tool. Then I come over. Let's adjust this a little bit. Zoom in so we can see what is happening. So I have to come over to the edge of the background and now double click, drag to the other edge of the background rectangle, right? So I release my hand and instantly we have our gradient applied all over our design. But that's not what we want, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to mask or clip. We're going to create a clipping mask. That means we are going to make this gradient tool only visible in the THE background. So what we need to do is to hold our Alt key and hover our mouse with our other hand right in between the gradient layer and the THE background layer. So once we hover it, we click and instantly our gradient instantly snaps into the THE background, all right, and disappears out of the rest of the design. So but then we need to adjust the colors of our gradient. So go over to the top here, click on it, then come over to the bottom here, double click so that our color picker pops up. Then we'll go over to the bottom of this image we are sampling from, click OK. So we'll double click on this bottom as well, go over to the top and click. So by this we are sampling the colors that are on the design. So click OK. So once we are done, you see the colors we have sampled. So click OK. Then once we've done that, we'll come again to make sure that the gradient layer is selected. We'll come again and reapply our gradient. You see, at this moment, background is now way much better. It now looks more like what we have in the original design where we are sampling from. So we keep stretching. While you're stretching, you keep looking at the original design, right? Once you drag, you stretch, you keep moving the gradient lines across the background of the THE. And once you do that, you keep comparing to make sure they are looking alike. So once you keep doing that, keep looking until you get something super similar. And once you get something similar, then you can now stop. So I'm still making the adjustment and comparing. So far, I'm not satisfied with what I'm seeing. So I think I'm satisfied with this. Yep, I'm satisfied with this. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. So The next thing we're going to do is to add the text blueprint. So to add the text blueprint, let's first of all, before we do that, let's rename this layer. We'll call it gradient. We'll call it gradient or background gradient. And click enter. Yes, so we have successfully edited that. So now we have sorted out the THE and the 100K. We'll come over to the text below, which is 100K. For us to make sure they are aligned, we'll go back to our ruler here and now double click and drag out our ruler line again. We want to get the top of the blueprint. Once you're moving the ruler, don't release your hand though until you get the top of the blueprint. Now we are at the top of the blueprint and release your hand. This helps us to maintain the same spacing between the text 100K and blueprint. So we have one other issue right now. Sometimes if we want to make selection, we will mistakenly, like I wanted to select this 100K and make a little adjustment, but then our background keeps getting in the way. Our rectangle that we use to fill in color to our background keeps getting in the way. So what we need to do right now is to lock it so that whenever I want to make selections, it does not move. So once you click on it, you see it is highlighted here. You go over to this place, you see the padlock icon here. You click on it, and once you padlock it, you come over again to the layer below it, which is the layer that has the abstract background itself. So you also lock it as well. So the two layers are locked. That means the background won't have to move whenever we want to make any selection. You see, now we can now make our selections and our background will not be moved or it won't be selected. So now we are trying to sort out the blueprint, the text blueprint. Let's also click on the top, on our ruler at the top, and also get the base of our blueprint text. So that whatever thing we are typing, we'll have to enter into that space now as well. So what we have to do now is to go over to the topmost layer. The topmost layer, it has nothing on it currently. So once we go over, we have a new layer here we have not used at all. What we need to do here is to go over to the horizontal type tool and click anywhere we like. Don't click here. You see that if you click here close to the 100K, we mistakenly want to edit the 100K again, just as we did before. So click on the layer again, the new layer, click on our horizontal type tool, then click far away and now type blueprint. So once we have this, I'll now have to move it into the spacing we have made for it, but then it doesn't fit, so I have to click on the blueprint text and drag out a bit so that it will be big enough. So the size is okay now, and I click enter. So we'll have to change the color. To change the color, we'll have to highlight this, go over to this place, we'll go over to the properties panel, see the color of the text here, right? See where it is telling you color. See the color, you click on the color, then the color picker tool pops up. You come over to the blueprint text here, sample the color, which is navy blue or very dark blue, and we are good to go. So we've sorted that out. Then the next thing we'll sort out is the word seminar. To make sure this is aligned as well, we have to move our ruler line and make sure it's directly above the webinar that is on the original design. So once we have that, I'll come over to my layers panel and click on the new layers. Click on the new layer icon. Then once it is selected, I come over to my type tool here and click on my design. and type webinar in capital letters. Then we need to change the font to Gilroy because that's what we are using for the second font. Now we have the webinar, and it has to be small enough, as small as the one here. We need to reduce the font, so I have to click on the text. Once we have clicked on the text, I have to click on the text and reduce the size. So the size has been reduced, but not enough. Yes, I know it's not enough. So first of all, before we'll worry about getting the actual size of the font here so that to match up with this one, we need to worry about the spacing. We need to make sure the spacing is like this one here. So to increase the spacing, we need to click enter. To increase the spacing, we have to come over here and adjust our slider. So this was not highlighted, or this was not working, so I had to go out and click on this, click on the text we want to adjust its spacing. And I need to point something out to you. The spacing in between letters in design is called tracking. All right, let me go again. The spacing in between the letters of a font is called tracking. So if you go for an interview, or maybe someone wants to be super professional, want to use the industry jargons to talk to you, can just tell you, maybe you're working with a senior designer or you're working with a fellow designer, and the fellow designer asks you to increase the tracking of a text or a write-up. All you have to do, you have to understand that what the person is saying is that you increase the space in between the text. So as usual, I have my cursor over this part, and I'm double clicking, holding down, and I'm dragging out to the right while looking at the text so that I can get the spacing I want. So I need to adjust the size to fit. So right now, because this is too tiny, and okay, so I need to adjust this to fit. I'm adjusting it, and I click enter, and let me click on it again to adjust. I'm using now the up and down, left and right arrow. Let me bring in my on-screen keyboard so you see what I mean. The up, okay, this is the arrows I'm talking about here. The left, up, down, right. So these arrows, you can use them while any element is highlighted. You can use them for precise or precision, or to increase your precision in your movement. Like if I use this to move my element, is to move them, slowly with a level of degree that I may not be able to move with my hand over my mouse, because maybe my hand can be shaky, or my mouse is not super sensitive, or so I use these arrows to move my element with better precision. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm using the right arrow to move. So, or I can just highlight all of them. Okay, no, don't worry, I don't need to highlight all of them. So at this point, so let me move this until I'm comfortable. So at this point, we were able to center align the webinar, and I think this is perfect. So we are making good progress, right? So the next thing we need to do now is to add the 9 p.m. and 27th of February right beside the 100K, right beside this. So to make that happen, as well as we did before, I need to come over here drag out my ruler and make sure it's one is at the top of that line. I'm talking about this line here. Then I need to drag another one. To make sure it's at the bottom. Yes, so this is perfect. So let me remove these lines. They are appearing both on the same design and I don't want that. So what I need to do is to make sure that this artboard is highlighted. I need to make sure this artboard is highlighted before dropping the lines, so that the lines will only show up on this artboard alone. So I release my hand, I bring up the other one to the bottom of this line. If you watch, I'm only targeting this line here, this vertical line here. That's what I'm actually targeting. So to make this vertical line, there are two ways we can do that. We can actually use the pen tool, make sure this has to be in shape and not part. This has to be in shape and not part. So I need to come over here to the top line, drop a point, come over to the bottom, drop another point. So Control Z. The point is not straight, so I need to Control Z, or I'll go to the history to undo that. So I can use my shift key to get a straight line. So now we have to draw this horizontal line, right? So what we need to do is to use, there are several tools we can use to achieve that, but I want to use the rectangle tool. We need to draw a triangle that has a tiny width. So to draw this, there are several ways we can do this. Now to draw this vertical line here, there are several ways we can do that, but we can discover those several ways later. But for now, we'll use the rectangular tool to make that happen. So go over to the topmost layer and add a new layer. So this is the new layer where we'll be drawing those rectangles. So first of all, go over the top of the line and draw a rectangle that has a tiny width. Black is the color, so I won't be changing the color of this one. So I'll go over here to hit OK. So you see our line is here. So our line is here. I can use my right arrow on the keyboard to adjust it and move it to as close as possible to the 100K. So since we are having two of these, I don't need to waste my time creating another rectangle for the one on the right. All I need to do is to duplicate this layer. I have to double click, move down, and release my hand once I am immediately above the create new layer. Once I release my hand, if you look here, we now have two rectangle, 3 layers. You can see them here. So I need to move one. I'm using the right arrow right now, the right arrow on my keyboard. It's taking a while, yeah, but that's what I've chosen to use. You can actually choose to use your cursor to move it if you like, but at this case, I just prefer to use my arrow. So now we have these 2 strokes here. The next thing we need to do is to add the 27th February. So 27th February, click on the element so that we can add another line above this 27th. So go over to the top ruler here, drag another line down until we get to 27th. So now we are immediately above 27th. I release my hand. So, and I need to drag for below 27th. We've gotten that. Then the one up directly above February, then that is perfect. So now we have to go to the topmost layer. I need to name this stroke 2. stroke 2 and stroke 1. So go over to, I click on the topmost layer and click on add new layer. This is to add a new layer above all of them. This new layer will contain the 27th text. So I click on my horizontal type tool and go over and type 27th, capital letter TH. So currently there is a lot of space in between the text because of what we did with the webinar. So I'm going to change that, bring it down to 0. Go over to our, I'm going to go over to our tracking here and change it to 0. I click enter. It has adjusted. Then once I've adjusted our tracking, the next thing I'll do is to adjust our text. Or is to not adjust our text, I mean to change the text or the font. Right, the font is Antonio, so I'm moving this here, but it doesn't fit, so I need to click on the 27th text and adjust the size until it gets into the spacing for it. Let me zoom in. So I just zoomed in so that I can get a clearer view of what I am doing. So let me use my up arrow on the keyboard. So I think this is good. So the 27th is, so we are good with the 27th, and the next thing we want to type now is February. So I have to go over again to the topmost layer, add a new layer. Now we have a new layer here, right? Then in this new layer here, I'll have to type in February, F-E-B. Then we need to change the font, right? We change it to Gilroy because this font, this February is way shorter. So first of all, let us adjust the size, reduce it a bit, and use the up arrow to move it into its place. You can always zoom in using Ctrl+ to make sure what you're doing is perfect. Then I use Ctrl- to go out. So I think we're making good progress. So let me zoom in again. So for the 9 p.m., we're going to do something right now. Instead of us to just type 9 p.m. again, we see that 27th February and 9 p.m. are the same size and the same font below. Instead of us going through the stress of typing these two things in, manually adjusting the sizes and all of that, we can just simply copy these two. And to copy them, we can just highlight both of them. You see how I have, double click near it and drag and make sure that your selection is covering both of the texts. So now I have these two selected. Let me scroll down here to make sure that we are not having any other things selected. Unfortunately, we have other things selected. The background is selected, and the gradient background or background gradient that we used for this THE here is selected as well. So we see that this is going to affect what we want to do now. So I have to lock this layer because I don't want it to move. I want it to stay where it is. So all this layer that we are selected when we selected these two, I'm locking them. So you see, I have locked them so that they'll stay where they are. We don't need them to move. So let me again click outside and select these two. So you see right now, let me scroll down on my layers panel. You see no other layers is selected. So this is what I want. So since these two are now selected, I need to double click on this layer. You see, I'm double clicking now and I'm moving my hand down to the create new to the create new layer icon. This create new layer icon here. That is where my hand is now. Then I release my hand. Instantly, these two the 27th February has been duplicated. Then I'll use my left arrow on the keyboard to move it to the other side, where we have to put the 9 p.m. So I keep moving it until it's in place. All right, so now it is in place. So I just now click on the 27th here and now type in 9 p.m. No, 900. Then I come over to the one at the bottom and type in PM. Then I have to make it right aligned. I'm just using the right arrow on my keyboard to be moving this. So you see, this is perfect. All right. So let me move these two a bit in layer. So this is, let me move them a bit in as well. So this is way better. So let's zoom out. If you just noticed, we have been able to recreate the top here. All right. We've been able to recreate the top here and just the areas that had text and the background as well. So what we need to do right now is to add the speakers. Since we don't have the direct images of these two speakers, all we need to do is to go over to freepik.com and look for the images of a man and a lady that their hands are folded like this. So let's quickly head over to freepik.com. Then search for black man folding hands. Black man folding hands. All right, you need to be specific with these things so that it will get you the right results you're looking for. If you just type black man, it will just show you a random black guy. But if you type black man folding hands, you're being more specific with your request. So the network is a bit slow, so let's wait a little bit for other pictures or to load up. So here we go. Let me click on this black man folding his hands. So this is good. This is good. See other pictures of black guys that are folding their hands. So I can choose any of these pictures. But then I think I like the picture of this young man because he's wearing some suit. No, not suit, a shirt. He's looking, a little bit professional than this image here where the young man is looking casual. So let's use this image instead. So once I have this image, I click on download, free download. So let's wait for this image to download. And yes, as always, FreePic will ask me to log in. Then I'll click, now I'm logged in. I'll click on download again. So right now I'm waiting for the image to download. And it's downloading. It's about 6 megabytes, so it's going to be a quick download. So now the download is complete. So I'll go over to my folder, the download folder, see the image of the young man here. I have to move the image of the young man into Photoshop. So here we have the image of this man. We have to zoom out. Then I need to get the image of this young man, to be the height of the existing one. Then I have to click enter. So we have a little problem right now. First of all, the two images, if you look at the original speaker here, look at the angle he's facing. It's not the angle this man is facing. This man is facing the right, and the original speaker here is facing the left. You see, he folded his hands and he's facing this way, the left. And this young man folded his hand and is facing the right. So first of all, we need to change the direction of this man so that he faces the left, just like this one. All we need to do is to transform this image to flip the direction, right? So to do that, we need to click on this image. Once this image is highlighted, you move to edit. So you see the edit at the top here, click on it, then scroll down to transform. So we are now on transform. More options just popped out by the right. So you now go over to flip. We're going to flip it horizontal, all right? We're going to flip it horizontal. So if you click on this flip horizontal, you see that instantly the direction of this young man has changed. So he's now facing the same direction with our original speaker. So we are making progress. So the next thing we have to do now is to cut out the background of this young man. You see that this young man has a white background, and this one, and the white background is obstructing our text and everything we want to do. So we need to remove this young man from his white background. Yes, I know in the previous video in one of the previous courses, I taught you how to cut out elements from their background using the pen tool. All right. So then I need to quickly let you know that the pen tool is ideal when you're trying to cut out a subject from a busy background. By busy background, I mean background that has all other elements, at the background. Let me quickly make a reference to one of the images we used in that tutorial or in that class. So let me look for that image, and yeah, this is one of the images we used. Click on it. So this is the image we used for that class, and if you look at the background is a bit busy. We have the floor here, we have some wooden furnitures here. All right, so it's not as the background is busy, so it's not like the background of this young man that is just white. It does not have anything behind them. It's just simply white. So in this case, we can use the pen tool to cut this man out of the background, but it is going to waste our time. All right, I'm going to introduce you to a different tool that we can use to quickly cut out a subject from a background that it is not busy at all. Like this case, we have a plain background here, so we can do that with quick selection tool. You see our tool here, the quick selection tool. You click on it and make sure once you click on the quick selection tool at the top here, you have so many options at the top here. All right, this one, new selection, add selection, and subtract from selection. So you need to make sure it is at new selection. So once we have that, we need to increase the size of our quick selection tool. We still using the square brackets, the left and right square brackets. Okay, I'm using the right one now, just the same way you use them for the brush tool. So once I click on this area, you see, once I click on this area, especially the white area, it becomes selected. So you see, somehow the shirt of this young man has been selected, but we don't want that. So go to use subtract from selection and click on the shirt so that the shirt won't be selected. We just want to select the background, which is white. So go back again to new selection and click. Oh no. Okay, so go back again. I think we just mistakenly made an error there. Let's continue with our selection. So the shirt of this young man has been selected. We'll go to subtract from selection and deselect his shirt. We don't want his shirt to be selected. We want only the background to be selected. Then we'll go back to add to selection. Then we keep going with our selection. We reduce the selection tool where necessary, like here at the head of the man. We keep going. We just want to get only the white places. So let me zoom in. You see that the color of his clothes has been selected. So I'll come over here again, use the subtract from selection, then to deselect the color. So all other places are okay. So let me deselect from this part as well. So you see, if you look closely, what we have been able to do is to select the background of the young man. And we selected the background of the young man because this background has one color, which is white. So it's easier for us to select it because it is just one color. It is not busy at all. So once we have that, then we can just go over to click the select again, scroll down to select and mask. So once you click select and mask, if you noticed, because we selected the background, all right, the young man is in red, the background is pure white. And if you remember from the previous video when we were using the pen tool that we got into this in the previous video, in one of the previous videos when I was talking about the pen tool, If you remember, the places in red are the places that this tool will cut out and throw away. So in this case, this tool will throw away this young man and leave the background. And that is not what we want. We want him to keep the young man and throw away the background. But then it is selecting the young man and highlighting him, coloring him red, because it wants to throw the man away. So what we want to do at this point now to stop this is to inverse our selection. You understand? What you need to do now is to inverse our selection. And to inverse our selection, we need to simply hold our shift and control with our left hand, then use the right hand to click your letter I on the keyboard. I repeat it again. Shift, control, and I on your Windows laptop. Shift, control, and letter I. So I'm holding my shift control with my left hand, shift and control key with my left hand. Then, in fact, let me show you what I mean here. See my shift here, see my control key, and this is my letter I here. So I'm holding my shift and control right now. Then with my right hand, I'll click the letter I. And once I do that, the selection gets inversed. You see, instantly, the young man becomes more visible and the background becomes red. So it's the background that we'll definitely do away with. So we'll go over to this place now. This is and look for the refine edge tool. This is the refine edge tool, right? Then we'll go over, zoom in to make sure that our selection is okay. We'll refine the edges of our selection. So we'll use the minus to refine the edge of our selection. So I keep going in between this plus and minus here to get the best result from this selection. So I go over, click the plus sign again to keep refining the edge until I make sure the selection is okay. So I zoom out a little bit. So I keep going over the edges of our selection to make sure it's all right. So basically, there's nothing much to do here because the selection tool already did a pretty decent job. So come over here to the right and try to smoothen the edges, right? Because I see some edges are a bit rough. So this is to ensure the edge of our selection is smooth. Once I move the slider, I look at the edges of my selection to see how smooth it is. So I am actually impressed. This is okay. Then I scroll down to the output. Then I choose layer mask. Then I click OK. So once this is done, let's zoom out a little bit. If you noticed, we've been able to successfully cut this young man out of the background. So this is so amazing. So let's zoom out a little bit to adjust the size to make sure it fits with that of the original speaker in the design. Okay, so this is perfect. This is okay. So the next thing we'll have to do now is, if you look now, our design is now coming together gradually. The next thing we'll have to do now is to create a new layer and bring in the picture of a lady that has her hand folded. All right. So go back to freepik.com and search for black woman with folded hands. So among all the options that we've been given, you see that this, we have this image, we have this one. So this is the best we can choose at the moment. There is none better than her. Or we can even try pixels. Okay, let's try checking out pixels to see pixels.com to see if you see a better image. Black woman with folded hands. So it's obvious that the first one we have from freepik.com is the best. So I think I'm sticking with this one. So let's download this, the free one. So it's asking me to log in again. So let me log in. It wants to verify I am who I said. It wants to verify before. No, I think Freepik allows you to download without even logging in or registering with their platform, but then there's a limit you can download. So because I download a lot of images from them, they're always asking me to log in before I download further, because I've exceeded my maximum limit of download without logging in. So right now our download is complete. So let's head over to the folder where we downloaded these two and bring this image into Photoshop. So right now this image is being imported into Photoshop. And as we did for the other image, let me click enter. As we did for, let's zoom in a little bit. As we did for the other image, let's remove the background. So head over to the quick selection tool. We used quick selection tool previously before now. This time around, we use the magic wand tool. I'm doing all these things so you see how these tools can be used, to cut images out of backgrounds. So as I just clicked with the magic wand tool, it instantly selected the whole entire background instantly. Unlike when we are using the quick selection tool, we had to, okay, let me Control Z this. When we're using the quick selection tool, we have to come, change this to new selection. Then we have to be selecting one part, after another, gradually like that. But in this case, the magic wand tool is way faster. So magic wand tool, once you select the magic wand tool, if you look at the top here, there are settings you can use to adjust the sensitivity or the way the magic wand tool works. So you can use this tool. Once you click, you can use this tool to adjust the sensitivity, especially this tolerance that is at 32. So if you increase the tolerance, it will make more selections. You see how it even selected the trousers of this lady, because the trousers is close to blue, is another variant of blue, is another shade of blue. So that's why it also came in. But let me reduce this tolerance to 35. No, let me make it 28. Then let me hit Ctrl Z. Now the tolerance is at 28. Let me hit the selection as well. You see, it only selected the places that have similar colors and left all these other parts that have a darker shade of this blue. It didn't also select the knicker. So the not naked, it is also select the trousers of the lady. So this tool selects based on color. All right, it is sensitive to colors. So let me increase this a little bit to 40 or very close to 40 and make the selection. So this is faster. Then now we have our selection. We quickly go to either we'll click select and mask here, or we can go to our select here and choose select and mask. They are absolutely the same thing. So once you click on it, you see our subject, which is the lady, is on red, which is not what we want. We want the background to be red because the red parts are the parts that will be removed. So if we go ahead now, this girl will be removed and the background will remain. So to make sure that the background is what is removed, we want this background to have this red overlay now to be on the background. We need to hold Shift and Control, then we'll hit the letter I. Shift Control I on our Windows laptop. But if you don't want to be going through that shortcut, you can still go over to the select here, see the inverse here, click on it. It's still the same thing. All right, so the red now is on our background. So then this tool here, the refine edge tool, we have to use it to cut out the background around the hair of our subject. So we use this tool to refine the edges of our selection. So this is really fast and pretty easy. So our edges are awesome now. So what I'm actually doing is I'll just double click, drag on the edges. As I'm dragging, the tool is refining the edges. Double click at this point, drag along the edges of my image, and the tool is doing its job. It's refining the edges neatly. So once I go through, let me slide up. Once I have gone through the edges, I've inspected the edges and they are good. Let me try this place, the edges of this side, and they are good enough to me. And the next thing I need to do is to scroll down here, come over here and choose layer mask. So once I'm under layer mask, click OK. Then I zoom out to see my selection. I click on the move tool here and move the lady. So our selection is amazing. So we've been able to cut out the man and the woman from their background. But we have something else we have to do right now, which is we have something we need to do. This young man here is if you look at this original design, you see that young man is almost like he's in front of the lady and the lady is behind him. So this young man here, the host of this event, John Obidi, I think most of you must have heard of him. If you attend a lot of business seminars, he runs a lot of business trainings. So this lady here, we need to make sure he is behind this man the way this other lady here is behind the man. So make that happen, we just simply have to move her layer down below the layer of the man, and that simply solves that. So I think we are almost there. But then these two images are not centralized. The space at the right is wider than the space here. If you look here, the space here and the space here are almost the same thing. So we need to fix that. We need to centralize both of them. And this is perfect. So we're having an issue with this lady's background. If you noticed, let me click on her. If you noticed, see her background here. If you notice here, you can see a line from her background is showing up. We didn't remove this entirely. So to take care of that, to go over to her layer, see her layer here, then we'll click on this thumbnail here, which is the layer mask thumbnail. Then we need to hide that with our layer, with the layer mask option here. So we'll go over to the brush tool. Make sure the foreground color is black, because black hides and white reveals. So since it's now on black, we are now painting over that area and we are hiding it. So you see how easy it is to sort that out. So that is taken care of. So let's adjust, let's zoom out a little bit to compare between the two designs. The head of this young man is touching the webinar, the text webinar, and let's reduce him a little bit. So yeah, this is perfect. This is way much better. So what next do we have to do? We need to, the name of the speakers, John Obidi, host, Tricia B's guest. But before we do that, let's look closely at the pictures of the speakers. If you notice, the picture of this lady has a slight shadow around it. Just very slight, mild shadow around it at the bottom here. Even the one of the young man too has a little shadow here. It makes it look realistic. Alright, that is what we are going to do right now. You remember how we get these shadows done? Select the image of the young man and create a shadow using our brush tool. So we can duplicate, not duplicate, we just created a new layer. Bring the layer immediately below the image of the man, because the shadow has to be below him. So put here shadow of male speaker. So since the shadow has to be behind him, we need to put the layer that will contain the shadow immediately below his image. Then we'll go to the brush tool, make sure the color is in black, because shadows are mostly black. Then with that done, we now have to keep painting at the edge, close to the edge of the young man. If you look here, you see that there are nice shadows that are being formed at this area. Alright, so you see how we have been able to put subtle shadows. We are just painting gradually and subtly. Is almost not noticeable, but then it helps makes your design realistic. All right, so when putting shadows, one thing you need to observe is you need to decide where the light is coming from. So if you put your shadow this side, like now I'm putting all the shadows by the right, which means the side is falling, the light is falling from the left here. The shadow of this woman too has to be by the right, because the source of light is coming from the left. You understand? From the left here, like there's a beam of light coming from the left and shining on their face. So the shadow is by the right. You make the shadow of the lady too by the right for balance, because you can't make the shadow of the man right and make the shadow of the lady left. No. Let's look at that design so you understand what I'm trying to say. If you look at this man here, the host, his shadow is by the right here. Look at the bottom here, you see his shadow here. If you look at the lady too, the shadow is by the right. So you see, that is balance. So what we just did here, we'll repeat it below the image of this lady. So we have to create a new layer here. This new layer we just created, we have to take it down below the image of the lady, immediately below the image of the lady. Then we have to rename it shadow of female speaker. Then once we have that, we now make sure our brush tool is selected, our foreground color is black here. Then we keep gradually start applying the shadows. My opacity is 100%, my flow is 20%. So maybe you can make your flow, or maybe you can make your settings to be that, so that you can achieve the same result I'm achieving. See, I'm gradually dropping the shadows around the lady. I'm not making it super obvious. So I'm not coming here now to drop the shadow here. No, I'm not doing that. Let me use Ctrl Z to undo that. I'm just going towards the edge here. I'm dropping it, so it now makes it look super natural. So the shadow now feels and comes out natural. So let me zoom out a little bit. This is perfect. I click on my move tool and zoom out completely. So we just sorted out the shadow. So we have these two things. So we have sorted out the speakers. The next thing we need to do right now is the names of the speakers. You go to the topmost layer and click on add new layer, so that we'll type in the names of the speakers on the new layer. Then we'll have to see the name of this host here it has a background which is also a rectangle. Then that means we have to use a rectangular tool to make that happen. So we have to create a rectangle. Actually, two rectangles. We have the one with the title, with the name. We have the another rectangle with the title. So here the name is man, because we don't know the name of this young man here. So probably let's choose the color, right? Let's choose the color first before typing anything. So I have to click there and go over here to sample the color here, so that it will be the same thing. So now the colors has been sampled. I'll go over to my type tool. I can't just start typing now. I just have to come here first and choose a new layer, so that my type, whatever I type, will be on a new layer. So I'll now type Mr. Man. So Mr. Man is the name of the speaker of this event. Mr. Man. Mr. Man is the name of the speaker for this event. So I come over, I click enter. After adjusting it, I click enter. Then I come over to change the color of that text to white. See, the one here is white, so I need to change it to white. Then that is okay. Then I also need to make this bold. We have been using Gilroy on the light mode, so I need to choose bold now. So bold is perfect. So as I adjust that a bit. So we need to create another rectangle. We need to go here, create a new layer. I have to create another rectangle again for host, for that title host. Then I need to zoom in so I'll see what I'm doing. All right, using my Control Plus, I just zoomed in. So I use the move tool, move this up a bit so I can see what I'm doing. So I zoom out a bit. I need to sample the color of that background. So I come here, click on the property here, click on the color here, click on this multiple colors here. For the color picker tool come up, and now I just sample the color here, and I come here to click OK. I come here to take in the properties panel. The next thing I'll do now is to create another new layer and drop a text which will read host, H-O-S-T. And the host, I'll have to reduce the size. Then I'll go over to the properties panel and change it to, I click enter. Anytime you resize, I need to point something out. Anytime you resize a text, before you can apply any changes to it from the properties panel, you need to hit enter always. So I just hit enter. So let me show you what I mean. Like, let me increase the size of this. I just increase the size. I did not hit enter. Check this out. You see that some things I can't actually make some changes. Like here, I can't even, here is not highlighted. I can't even maybe change the tracking or adjust the tracking until I hit enter. Now that I've hit enter, you see now this is not highlighted. I can now make some adjustments to it. So let me change the light, change it to light mode, decrease the size significantly so that I can place it on top of the host background. Then I'm now using my up and down arrow on the keyboard to make further adjustments. So this is really nice. But if you also look here, the titles here have spaces between them. So I need to increase the tracking of I need to increase the tracking of the titles. So I click on the title and increase and come over here. Let me slide this a little bit so I'll see what I'm doing. I come over here to adjust the tracking. So as I increase the tracking, I see real-time preview of what I'm doing. So I think this is perfect. So the next thing I want to show you now is, if you notice, the background for the names is not really straight. It's slanted a bit, a little bit slanted. So we're going to make that slant happen. So click on this background, zoom in so that you see what we are doing. Now that you have zoomed in, we'll now head over to this tool here. Look here, this tool. Make sure you are, please, I just remembered something now. Make sure you are on Essentials. Your workspace is on Essentials, so that we'll be on the same page. So this tool is called Direct Select Tool. Direct Select Tool is used to select the direct points of an image, or direct points of a design element. So in this case, all this while that we have been using the move tool, when you just move, you're moving the entire you are selecting and moving the entire element. But in this case, if you use this direct selection tool, what you select is direct point. Like, any movement I make now only affects one part of the shape. You see, in this case now, we've been able to select and move only one point or one angle of the image. So I'm undoing that. So make sure it's a straight line. Move this out a bit. I hit yes. Then the bottom, I move the bottom out a bit, and I hit enter. So now we have been able to do this. Let's zoom out. We have been able to adjust this with the direct selection tool. So I think our own angle is sharper than the angle that was done here. Ours is way sharper. Then I think we need to reduce So let's adjust that. Let me undo that. I'm using Ctrl Z now to undo that. We need to get this right. First of all, we need to make sure that the name is slanted, because the name here is slanted too. So we'll go over this place, advanced, go over to the advanced, and you see this here, you need to slant that particular text. Once you click on this, it slants it. So I think I'm going to leave this like this. Yes, I will leave this like this. So what you need to do now is to select everything here from the host, the title, the background, the name of the speaker, and the background too as well. So I'm going to hold, instead of me selecting them from here, I'll want to come over to this place. I'll hold the topmost layer, holding down my shift key on my keyboard. I'll go over to the last layer of the items I want to select. So you see the 4 items are now selected, the thing at the top and everything in between. So I will now double click, drag down to new layer, create new layer. So once I click on it, I have simply duplicated these write-ups, that is the name of the speaker and the title. Then I'll double click and move it to the right to make sure they remain at the same level. You see now my mouse or my hand has altered the level, so it's no longer proportional with the first one we move it out from. It's no longer aligned with the first one we move it out from, the copy, the original one. So to maintain that straight line when moving out, once you move out, always hold the shift key on the keyboard. So once I hold the shift key now, you see it locks your copy in place. It doesn't, if you even move your hand up, it will not move up. If you move it down, it will not move down. It always have to go sideways. But assuming maybe the first part I took when I was going out was up, and then you don't hold the shift key, you see it has now locked it in the upward direction. I can't move left or right, it only has to go up. So we use the shift key to maintain as is sometimes when we are making copies like this. So now we have this here. The host and the background needs to shift to the left. All right, so we have that. So we need to call this guest, G-U-E-S-T. So we need to zoom in, so we'll make sure there are no errors. You see, this one wasn't moved properly. I'm using the left key, arrow key on the keyboard to make all these adjustments. Then the background is not long enough. I need to adjust that as well. So I'm dragging out. So it's okay now. So, and we have to change this to Mrs. Woman. Mrs. Woman. Yeah. So the background, which is this, has to be extended to fit. So I click enter. Then I hold on to, I make sure that the Mrs. Woman is highlighted and adjust it a little bit. So I'm holding my control minus to take it back so I can see what we have been able to do. So guys, Control 0. So this control, I use Control 0 to, bring every design to the frame. So guys, this is what we have been able to create. We have been able to duplicate this design by the left, which is on our mood board. We have been looking at it and created a replica of it by the right. So, and in that process, I have been able to teach you a lot of tools, or more uses of the tools you already know. I've also used some of the tools you know. I've also shown you or introduced new tools to you. For example, we have been able to show you how we have been able to introduce you to the direct selection tool. This is the first time you are seeing how this tool works and even apply it as well. We also have been able to show you how we cut images from the background using the magic wand tool or direct select magic wand tool or quick selection tool. Unlike how and not just using only the pen tool. We also went further to show you how or where it's necessary to use the pen tool to cut things out of the background, and we said that it's where maybe the subject you want to select has a busy background, and we also showed you where this one is best used, and beyond just talking about it, we also showed you. So this is super practical. Then we also show you the uses of this padlock here, how you can lock layers, and the situations where it requires you to lock layers. We also showed you the adjustment layers, how we use the hue and saturation layers to make adjustments to colors and balance colors in our designs. Beyond that, we also, when we are trying to get our background to look like this, we also used the blend mode, this layer, to blend a rectangular layer to give the background we had before this color to match this one. So we've come to the end of this class. So we'll be able to show you these new tools, not just by talking about them, but by showing you how they work and actually applying them. So that's that for this course. This course has taken a while, but then it's worth it. That's that for this course. And as an activity for this course, you have to recreate this poster design. All right. All you have to do is, you have seen the steps I've taken. You have to follow the same steps and recreate this poster exactly how it is here. All right. Then, but for these images, you don't have to use these two images. You do not have to use them. Look for any image of your choice. You can go online to get image. Look for any platform you like to get image. If you like to use Google, that's fine. You can also use Google. If you want to use your personal image, it's welcomed. Use any image you like. Then, but we need to get this done. You can just snap yourself, folding your hand. Maybe get your sister or a female friend, snap her, folding her hands like this here. Use it to recreate this. All right. Just have fun with it. But the most important thing is, let them have the same structure, the same write-ups, everything. Do that and submit it. Also, to make it easier for you, I'll be attaching this image to the course folder so that you can download it and use it, upload it to Photoshop, and use it on your mood board to recreate your own design. So now that you're done with the design, the next thing you have to do is to save this design. To save the raw file so that you can always get back to it and maybe edit them later or work on them later, you just come over to this save here, click on this file, come to save here, click on it, then make sure you are in the folder that you want to save the project on. Then you come here and click on assignment. Name it assignment, just name it. All right, just give it any name you like. It doesn't have to be assignment, just any name you like. Then I click save and it's saved. But then after saving it, what we actually saved is the entire project. When you want to export it, maybe to share in the group, or you want to export it to share with your friends on social media or wherever it is, you need to export them individually. So to export them individually, this is how you're going to do it, because you have multiple mood boards here. You have multiple artboards. You have the mood board, you have the flyer design. So because you have these two, if you just use save as here and maybe choose this format type JPEG and save it, it will still end up saving those two files for you, and that is not what you want. You want only this one. So to make only this one being the one that you save, you just come to the file name here at the top. You click on it. Once the file name is clicked, you see that it is highlighted. You can see all the plus by the side. Then go over to File, scroll down to Export. Once you are now on Export, you go to Artboard to Files. So you are exporting your artboard now as a file. So you come over here, choose the name, assignment, then choose the destination. I'm choosing desktop. All right, choose OK. Then you come here to choose the file type, JPEG, and so many other types here. So we are sticking with JPEG. Include overlapping areas. No. Artboard content only. Yes, artboard content only. If you don't click on this, all those other part of the images that we are shooting out of your artboard will be added in your export. So once you click run, let's do that. Once you click run, Photoshop exports only your assignment as JPEG and leaves this one. You see that only this one was exported, and if I go to my home page, which is my desktop, I will see the assignment and look at it here. So this is my assignment right here. So that is how you get to export files individually when you have multiple artboards created in your project. So that's that for this course. See you in the next one.